Hey,
Hello, this is Brendan. This is a quick courtesy call from Ecolab. How are you today?
hey, that's right. This is Brendan. I'm doing okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for confirming, Brendan. I'm calling to thank you for your recent purchase of the Eco shirt from Ecolab. I just wanted to check in and see if your order arrived safely and how your experience with the shirt has been so far. Have you had a chance to try it out?
Yeah, it's been amazing. Thank you so much. I received it about 5 days ago. It's perfect. Haven't had really any issues with it. It's really awesome actually. Probably one of my favorite shirts.
That's wonderful to hear, Brendan. I'm so glad you're enjoying your Eco shirt and that it's become one of your favorites. We really appreciate your feedback. It means a lot to us. If you have a moment, would you be willing to leave us a 5-star review? You can do this by simply Googling Ecolab and leaving a review on our Google Business profile. It really helps us out and supports our mission for sustainability. Thank you again for choosing Ecolab and for supporting an eco-friendly brand. If you ever need anything or have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a fantastic day.
What if every customer left you a 5-star review automatically? In this video, I'll show you how to build an AI that is going to call your customers 7 days after purchasing. It's going to check if they're satisfied and guide them to leave a review. We're also going to be able to catch the unhappy customers before they leave a 1-star review and help them with any issues. So this is a great use case for the AI phone agent where most e-commerce businesses likely do not have a team of people calling their customers to collect this data. So it's going to be unlocking quite a powerful new capability. It's also very scalable, working with 10 orders a day or 1,000 orders a day just as easily. Hopefully by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to get this system set up and running from scratch, even if you're a complete beginner with no technical experience. Now, if you are a business owner and you want to get a similar system set up for your business, please reach out to me using the link in the description. Otherwise, if you want access to the templates used in this video, I'll have everything for a free download within my school community. We've got over 20,000 members now with 50 plus other AI agent templates and courses. You can network with other AI developers and entrepreneurs to become a better AI builder. Once again, it's completely free and I'll have it linked down below. All right, so diving right into it, the main platform that we're going to be using to build out our AI phone agent is going to be a platform called Retell AI. So I've covered Retell on plenty of my other previous videos, but if you are brand new to this, this is the kind of main platform that we're going to be using to construct our phone agent. This is where our phone numbers are going to be hosted. This is where the AI itself is going to be hosted, and we're going to be doing majority of the development work here. I'll have it linked down below, but you can come to their website and just have a look at some of the main features and some of the main benefits of obviously using an AI automated phone system. And there's obviously a lot of features that come along with the platform, which you can have a run through and just have a look at on their main page here. But very, very high level, ultimately what's happening is that we have an AI that's very much like ChatGPT, although we've now attached a voice model on top of it, which is giving it the ability to speak. So it now has the ability to speak just like we do, and we're going to be able to talk back and forth with it over the phone. So obviously exactly as you heard at the start of the video with the demo. Alongside Retell, we're going to need make.com. So this is an automations tool, which is going to enable us to talk to our e-commerce store. So obviously when an order comes through, we need to be able to detect that and have a system set up so that in 7 days, we can have our AI call sent to them. And make.com is essentially the automation system in which is going to enable us to do that. So first up, we're going to get started here on Retell. This is the main page for Retell AI, and this is where all of our agents are hosted. It's completely free to get an account set up. You just have to pay for usage once the actual calls start to happen. So once you've created your workspace, all that we need to do is go to the top right and click create an agent, click on voice agent, and I'm going to be clicking on the single prompt agent. There's multiple different ways in which that we can build these agents here on Retell. But ultimately, I'm just going to go through the process of a single prompt agent, which is going to be the best for beginners. Once you've done that, you're going to land on this page right here, which is going to be your main interface for everything to do with building out the AI agent, the AI voice agent. And so notably, what you'll see on the left-hand side is this big text block, and this is where we're going to be providing our prompt. And the prompt is just a big instruction set in which guides the voice agent on how to act and how to respond. So for example, we're simply going to tell it that it is going to be a reminder system. It is going to be calling our e-commerce customers 7 days after they've made a purchase. And your goal is to extract information out of them, ensure that they're satisfied, and lead them to leave a review. So I've got plenty of videos running through and talking about our prompting process that we use within our own agency, but I'll also give you a quick hack on how to get a good prompt up and running pretty quickly. So I'm going to quickly come over to ChatGPT here. Now, this is not what I would recommend to do for any sort of production environment, but when we are getting started in building out these systems, even within our agency, it's always good to get started quickly and just get a prompt built out. And what I like to do is come over to ChatGPT, literally just talk to it and tell it what I'm looking for within an AI prompt. I do give it an example reference of a prompt template that we typically use, which I'll showcase to you as well. And we can literally just copy it from ChatGPT, add it into Retell, and now our Retell agent will have some sort of a foundation for its conversational structure. So coming back to ChatGPT, I'm just going to talk to it and tell it what I'm looking for. Hey ChatGPT, I'd like you to create an AI voice agent prompt that I can use to build an AI calling system. So this is going to be used in an e-commerce setting. Essentially, we have an e-commerce store. We are going to have our customers purchase our products, and we want to be able to have an AI call sent out to our customers 7 days after they've made the purchase. So I want you to create a friendly sort of receptionist-like prompt, which is going to be able to structure the conversation to talk to our customers 7 days after they've made this purchase. Ideally at this stage, they've received the product already as well. And we want to get their feedback. We want to understand if they are satisfied, if they're going to be able to leave a 5-star review, or if they're not satisfied, we want to be able to collect that information as well and see if we can resolve the issue for them. Ultimately, I want you to direct them to leave a review on our Google business profile. And you can simply tell them to just Google our business and they can go ahead and leave a 5-star review if they're satisfied. I'm going to provide you with a template which you can use to structure this AI prompt. Make sure to follow that strictly. Don't output really anything outside of that. Just make sure to fill that out and output just the AI prompt. Also make sure to output in a non-formatted raw markdown state. So I just went ahead and chatted to ChatGPT there, and I just told it what my requirements were for the prompt that we're going to be looking at. This is once again, typically what I will do when building out a system, just helps speed everything up. If I can just sort of off the top of my head, note down everything as I just did, this is really going to help to just copy this and get started. Once again, I wouldn't just take this prompt and run it in production by any means. This is something to just get us started. So I've got this prompt. Now I referenced providing it with a template, and I'm just going to run through the template that I would typically provide here now as well. So one of the main categories or sections of a prompt that I would always recommend is having a role. So I'm just going to put prompt template here. I'm just going to name it so it knows. I'm just going to put prompt template here so it knows what I'm referring to. And one of the first things that I have in the prompt template is a role. So this is going to be defining just the persona of the AI itself. Is it going to be a receptionist system? Is it going to be a reminder system? Should it be friendly or formal? All of those details will typically get filled out here. After this, we'll usually have the task. So this is more specifically what your goal is. In our case, it's most likely going to be getting that customer to leave a review on our Google business profile. Then I can have an example. So this is going to be sort of a conversational example of what a typical conversation could go like. And this just helps shape and form our system to know what it should follow along with. And then at the bottom, we have some notes as well. And this is typically something that I'll sort of add to after testing this system and seeing where some of the faults are and just adding some stuff into the notes. We can also add stuff initially. This is really just small stuff, nothing that's a major task, just small things that we want to add. All right, so I've given it these 4 structures here to fill out within our prompt template. Now I haven't actually given it a name for our business or anything to do with what the e-commerce company is going to be about. So I might just quickly provide some details here and just say the company name is Eco Lab and we sell eco-friendly clothes and bags. So something just for it to fill out with. I'll hit the send button right there and we should hopefully get back a nice template to use. All right, so the prompt just output right here. We've got a role, a task, we've got an example, and we've got notes as well. Just a brief skim looks pretty good, although what we haven't got is I wanted it to output in a non-formatted raw markdown state. So if that just sounds like gibberish to you, I do like it to output in I'm just going to send this request once again, and you're going to see that it will look a little bit different than what we have up here. And you'll see that it is now output without the big titles here, and this just makes it a little bit easier to copy over, although it hasn't actually added in the proper markdown still. So I'll just say, please output the markdown just raw. I'm not sure why I didn't do it the first time. Usually it does. All right, finally, I got it to output in the raw markdown. I just had to tell it a couple times for some reason. I just said output raw markdown, and you can see now it's actually output with the hashtags that we gave it in the prompt template. And we can just hit the copy code, head over to Retell and paste it into the box right here. So we've got our prompt template filled out here. We've got the role, the task, we've got examples and notes as well. Just quickly skimming over it. The actual format of the entire prompt here isn't fantastic, to be totally honest. It would be great if we had some better markdown formatting being used here. You can see each of the tasks would probably be better to have individual subheadings. And so what I mean by that is if I added 2 hashtags right here, essentially what the AI itself would be seeing is a subheading beneath our task. And then the AI would have a better indication that this is a task associated with the section of being in a task, if that makes sense. It's really about formatting it to make it look a bit more, readable for the AI itself. And the way in which we can actually check how readable it is, or how well formatted it is actually going to a Markdown live preview tool. And so if we just come over to markdownlivepreview.com, simple name, we can actually just paste in our prompt and just have a look at exactly how our prompt looks to the AI itself, in which was, trained on this type of format of content. And we can see here that we've got each of our sections, which are nicely formatted with these titles here. Although a lot of the subheadings obviously aren't as great. So we've got this one, which I just did, although this one obviously is quite hidden within the section of the text here. So that is something that I would have to come in and manually update. Anyways, once that prompt is added in here, once again, I'm pretty happy with how it's structured. It's structured it pretty much as I requested over the phone. And what we could do is click the test audio button right here. Now you will see quite a few settings here on Retell with the OpenAI model at the top, with the voice model as well, and a bunch of settings here. Don't mess around with them right now. We don't need to touch any of them. It is set up to start working right away. Hey there.
Hi, this is a quick courtesy call from Ecolab. Am I speaking with a customer's name? I just wanted to check in about your recent order and see how everything is going with your eco-friendly items. How are you today?
Yeah, everything's been pretty good. I haven't had any issues so far. I'm pretty happy with it.
That's wonderful to hear. Thank you so much for sharing your feedback. It really means a lot to us. We're thrilled that you're happy with your purchase. If you have a moment, would you be willing to leave us a 5-star review? You can do this by Googling Ecolab and leaving a review on our Google Business profile. It really helps us grow and continue supporting sustainable choices. Thank you again for choosing Ecolab and for supporting a sustainable brand. If you ever need anything or have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a fantastic day.
All right, so you saw there that worked pretty well. I think at the start there it said customer name instead of obviously my name, or just not saying anything at all. And that is obviously just going to be a prompt issue. Somewhere in here, it looks like there's probably like a variable that says customer name. I could probably just search up customer name. We probably would want to change that to be an actual person. So we can see here it says confirm you were speaking with the correct customer. Obviously this prompt in itself doesn't actually know who it's meant to be speaking with. Now this is something that I'll get to in just a minute as to how we can actually personalize these calls, as they will be outbound and we will have, the person that we're going to be calling, we will have all of their details. So we will know who we're calling, we will know about the product that they purchased, and other details that we can include as well. So that's pretty good for now. Obviously you can optimize that to make it as good as you want, but I'm now going to jump into the make.com scenarios, which are going to be pretty powerful and pretty important in how we can structure this and connect this to your actual e-commerce store. Making sure just hit the publish button right here to make sure that it's all saved. And now I'm going to head on over to make.com. So this is once again, it's the automation platform, and it's what's going to enable us to connect into an e-commerce store like Shopify, WordPress, whatever. We're going to be able to connect into these platforms and have them send out the AI calls 7 days after the orders are made. So this is going to be a 3-part automation. So we've got 3 individual automations required to build out the entire end-to-end system. And the first automation is going to be taking the orders from Shopify or whatever store you have, and then essentially storing them in a database to wait 7 days on those orders to then send out the calls from Retell. What I have is a Google Sheets module, which for now is just mimicking a Shopify store or a WooCommerce store or a custom system, whatever. This is where my orders are going to be stored. And then once a new row gets populated in Google Sheets, it is then going to trigger our call here. So if you wanted to, you could set up another automation to send, orders from Shopify to Google Sheets, which will then, trigger this workflow right here. Otherwise, you could directly add in, a Shopify module right here that when a new order comes through, it then triggers this right here. So the Google Sheets module that I have at the start here is essentially just watching for any new row. So if I jump over to Google Sheets, this is a sheet template I created, super basic, but just to prove the point, we've got 3 columns, one for customer name, product ordered, and mobile number. This is going to enable us to obviously get the context as to which product was ordered by the customer, and we can use that as a variable on the actual call itself. And then the customer name as well, so we can use that as a variable again and reference that in the call. And then obviously mobile number, we need to know who to send the call to. So I could fill these values out with my name. I could add in a product here with the eco shirt, and I can add a number here as well. And once that order has came through and it's on the Google Sheet, essentially what we can do is just run this module, and it is going to detect any of the latest rows that have just been added to Google Sheets. And we can see that the values that I just populated are now coming through in the module here on make.com. Now, next to our Google Sheets module, what you'll see is a custom module, which I've set up, which is an HTTP API request. And so this is not a native module of make.com. Essentially what's happening is we're doing an API request. It's custom to an endpoint in which is of another platform. Obviously, if you're not familiar with APIs, I would recommend going and watching some more beginner tutorials on APIs and how to get them set up. But once you understand the basics, you'll see that this is pretty straightforward. So clicking into this API request, what you'll see is we have a URL to api.chronhooks.io. And so we are talking to this application right here, which is chronhooks.io. I can have this linked down below as well. But this is essentially what's going to enable us to be able to trigger these calls and trigger them 7 days after the order is made. So on make.com, we aren't able to natively essentially just wait to send the call. We don't have the ability to, sleep or stop the workflow and wait 7 days. But what we can do is utilize a platform like this, which is essentially going to act as a database with a timer on it, so that after 7 days, it knows that it's been 7 days, and then it triggers a request to another make.com automation that we have set up with a bunch of data so that it knows to trigger the call to that person. If that was a bit confusing, you'll understand it a little bit better when I actually run through and go through everything step by step. If you do want to dive deeper, obviously Chronhooks have their own API documentation, so you can understand everything about what you can do with Chronhooks, but ultimately I'll just run you through the one API endpoint that I'm using. So I'm doing a post request to api.chronhooks.io/schedules, and this is essentially being used to send a bunch of values and schedule a webhook to trigger in a certain time in the future. I've added in the API endpoint, obviously. I've set it to be a post request. I've added in my API key. I'm not going to show you my API key, but the setup and structure is just authorization in the header. And then below that, we've got my API key as well. And then scrolling down a bit further, what we have is a JSON request body type in which we're using to send off all of the values necessary to do exactly what we're looking for. So if this does look a little bit confusing, don't worry, you shouldn't have to write or type this out all yourself. I'll have this all for a completely free download within my School community. So you can just copy this and paste it directly into your own API request. But ultimately, this is just outlining in a specific structure to Chronhooks as to exactly what we're looking to do. So first up, we've got a title, which is called survey call. This can be titled anything just to give you a note as to exactly what this call is for. Below that, we've got a URL, and this is a URL to a secondary make.com automation, which I'll show you in just a second, which is going to be the actual Retell AI call itself. And so this is once again just a timer, which is going to wait, in our case, 7 days to run this next step. I've got a specific time zone set for my location, which is in Australia in the Sydney time zone, but obviously you can set that to whatever time zone that this is going to be built for. Now, mainly you'll see a payload section right here. And in the payload section, this is where we're going to be storing all of the information that we want to have sent to this webhook. And so we have a name, which is going to be my name or the customer's name that we want to reference on the call, as well as the mobile number that we want to send that call to. Now, as I mentioned, we probably want to add in the product that they've ordered as well, if we do want to personalize it a little bit more. And we can do that pretty easily if I just went ahead and copy the name right here. And you'll see popping up on the left-hand side, this big box right here. And this is just pulling through all of the values and variables from the Google Sheets module from the new orders. And we want to use this to populate these fields. So we obviously don't want to be sending it to myself every single time. So we can take the name, in which is going to be customer name coming from Google Sheets. Product is going to be product ordered from Google Sheets. And then obviously we can bring through that mobile number as well. So that's all good to go. We've now got 3 payload values that we are going to be sending through to Chronhooks. And then we just want to be able to set when this should be sent. So you'll see run at, and run at is just the exact time that we want to have this webhook to be triggered. At the moment, I've got it by default set to now, which is right now. So essentially if we trigger this, it is going to, in just a few seconds, trigger this webhook. But what we do want to do is format this time so that it is actually going to be 7 days in the future. And we can do that if we go ahead and search items right here and just type format. You'll see format date comes up right here. I'll just drag that into the run at section. I'll then move the now step right into here. There are some instructions if you hover over the format date as to exactly how to do this. And so all that we need to do is just type into the search items up here and just type add days. And so you'll see that add days pops up. We've got our now, we can drag add days right here. And what we can do is take the now time, drag it in here. And now what we have is the add days step with the now step added right here. Essentially what this means is that we have the now time in which we are adding days to, and you can see with the instruction set, returns a date as a result of adding a given number of days to a date. And we can just pretty much just add the amount of days we want to add. So in our case, 7 days, we can literally just type 7. And so now we've got the exact time right now, but in 7 days. So we are going to be calling them, in the case it's 11:50 a.m. right now, we are going to be calling them at this exact minute in 7 days from now. If you do want to get a bit more advanced, and this is something that we would do, obviously, if we're putting the system out for one of our clients, is that it is very likely that the time in which that they made the order might not be the most optimal time for everybody to actually receive the call. And so what we could do is set it up so that it only calls people, after business hours or during business hours, depending on the product and the businesses and the services and whatnot. Maybe you do or don't want to call them on the weekends. And these are all conditions that you can set up to happen before you hit the step so that these calls are sort of strategically sent out. But anyways, this is all set up to send that call out in 7 days from now. And there's nothing else we need to do here. I'm just going to come back to the Google Sheet. I'm going to delete this row right here. I'm just going to add it in once again so that we can get our make.com workflow to trigger so that you can see this thing in action. If I hit run once, it should process the new rows. Our request has now seen it come through and you can see that it just got triggered. We can have a look here. All right, so once that's ran and it has sent it off to Chronhooks within the actual Chronhooks account itself, you can actually see all of the scheduled webhooks that are going to be sent out in a big list here. And you can see a bunch of the tests that I've just ran. Today is December 7th. And we can see a bunch of tests now essentially lined up to send out on December 14th. Now, for some reason, I ran into sort of a time zone glitch where the time zone itself says that it's in the Australia-Sydney time zone, although it's obviously being sent out at 1 a.m. for some reason. At the moment, it's only 12 p.m. Tried some things to try and fix this. I'm really not sure exactly what the issue is. I'm not sure, maybe because my make.com account is not set to the right time zone, but I can see I've got the right time zone here. I have had this working before, so I'm not sure exactly what's happened here. I might have to do a little bit of debugging and maybe this issue might come up on your end as well. So if you've got any suggestions, drop them in the comments. But otherwise, I think you get the idea as to what I'm trying to do here. So that first automation is all set up, ready to go. We can now get our orders from our e-commerce store. We can send it to Google Sheets, or we can do a direct call as well. But we're connected into Chronhooks to now schedule up the next automations for our actual calls to happen in 7 days. So this is the next automation that we need, in which is going to be triggered from Chronhooks with this webhook at the start here. And it is going to be triggering a phone call from Retell AI, in which Retell has their own native make.com module, which makes this super easy to set up. You can see I've already got a record coming through here, which came through from one of the Chronhooks schedules that I sent off. And you can see that it's obviously already working. All that you need to do is just set up a webhook. So this is the default webhook here on make.com. Once you've set up a webhook as the start of the automation, copy this address and then just go back to that previous automation and make sure that Chronhooks is sending it to this webhook. Once that's done, we've got a Retell AI step right here, which is the create a phone call module. And what I've done is I've added in my Retell AI account. They've got a connection step, so you can click into this and just connect your account via API key. And once that's done, it's all set up, you're good to go, and you can just fill out these fields right here with the person you want to send the call to, as well as the agent that you want to have on that call. So first up, the from number is going to be the number in which our agent is using to send the calls from. So if we go back to Retell, currently we don't have a phone number specifically set up and connected to our agent. What we can do is go to the phone numbers tab on the left here. I've got this one phone number that I purchased directly through Retell. If you click on the plus button up here in phone numbers, you can just purchase numbers pretty easily. It's only a couple dollars a month for a number, and you can just buy it directly through Retell. This is going to be connected into Twilio as their backend. So these are pretty good numbers. It works pretty well. And you can get any US or Canadian numbers. But if you do want a number that is outside of the US or Canada, like Australia, for example, that is something that is obviously possible. You just need to go to Twilio directly to purchase the number and have to set up that connection manually. So if you click on the plus button, connect to your number via SIP trunking. There's a few details that need to be entered in here to add that number manually. There's a lot of other videos out there showcasing exactly how to do this, so I'd recommend following through with them to get a custom number added. Otherwise, once you've got your number, you can just assign that number directly to the agent that you're going to be using. In my case, I haven't named it anything special. It's just the single prompt agent, but all we need to do is just make sure that the outbound call agent is set to single prompt agent. You can set the inbound one as well. It doesn't matter. We're not going to be using it for this use case. So now that that is set up, just make sure to copy the phone number up here with the copy button, jump back to make.com, and this is now going to be our from number. So the to number is going to be the person in which we're going to be sending this call to, and this is going to come from our webhook step at the start here. I'm just going to put a placeholder value here just so that I can hit the save button, and then we can just enter a test request to our webhook so that we can start to populate the fields for real. So just to get the test fields to populate at the first webhook step, I'm just going to hit run once. Once I've done that, I do already have a request that is going to come through, and I can hit use existing data. And now that that's happened, and now we should have a bunch of values that have come through directly from Chronhooks. And just clicking into the Chronhook run that I just did, this is essentially what I just ran and what just connected here to make.com. We can see if I scroll down a bit, the payload. So this has directly come from that API request This is what we filled through in that JSON request. And these are all the values here. So we can see that it's working properly. We've got the name, the product, and the mobile number. And we can see that that has also now populated on make.com. So we can populate these fields now. We can get rid of the to number as that default value. And we can add in the dynamic mobile number. And then at the bottom, you'll see Retell LLM dynamic variables. And this is what we can use to get those custom values for the name and the product. So if I just click add variable right here, we can set a key and a value. The key is simply going to be the name of the variable. So this can be something as simple as name, and we can just add the name in here. We can add another variable, and we can very simply just add the name of product, and we can drag the product in here. So now what we can do is reference a variable called name and a variable called product within the prompt itself for our voice agent, and it will be able to reference these fields. I'll just hit the save button, and that is now good to go. Now, just to test if this thing actually works, I'm just going to go ahead and right click on the Retell module here and click run this module only. I'm going to populate these with my own details, my phone number and my name, and I'm going to see if we can get a call from this system to my phone and see what it sounds like. But actually, just before that, I do want to add the variables directly into the prompt just to showcase the personalized aspect of it, of having my name and the product come through as well. So very quickly, I'm just going to add the variable in here. So one of the key steps within our task is to say, confirm you are speaking with the correct customer. I'm just going to replace this with the name variable. And so if we use these double curly brackets and add in the variable name, this is going to essentially trigger that value to be populated within the call itself. So it says confirm you are speaking with name, and hopefully it picks up on my name inserted into the prompt here, and that when I call it, it's going to mention me by my name. And then we can do the same for the product. So thank them for their recent purchase from Ecolab. We can say thank them for their recent purchase of product from Ecolab. So now we have, the purchase of the Eco shirt from Ecolab. And now it should hopefully once again reference that to make it a bit more personalized. Making sure to publish this again to the production environment so that the phone number is connected directly to this agent. So coming back here, I am going to send this off to myself. Hey there.
This is a quick courtesy call from Ecolab. How are you today? I'm reaching out because you recently purchased an Eco shirt from us about a week ago. And I just wanted to check in to make sure everything arrived safely and see how you're liking your eco-friendly items so far. Have you received your order?
Amazing. Yeah, no, I have received it. The shirt is perfect. No issues at all.
That's wonderful to hear, Brendan. I'm so glad the Eco shirt arrived safely and that you're happy with it. We really appreciate your support for sustainable products. If you have a moment, would you be willing to leave us a 5-star review? You can do this by simply Googling Ecolab and leaving a review on our Google Business profile. It really helps us out and lets others know about your experience. Thank you again for choosing Ecolab and for supporting a greener future. If you ever need anything else, just let us know. Have a fantastic day.
So there we go. Perfect. That worked as expected. You saw that it mentioned my name. I didn't say my name at all. It just knew what my name was, and it knew about the product that I had ordered as well. In terms of the prompting, once again, we haven't done much work there. It does speak quite a bit. It does go on quite a bit. We probably would want to shorten that first message so that it sort of allows me to, say something about the product or whatever to get some more information out of the customer. Whatever. You can see the point there, and you can see exactly how it works. So this is all good to go now. What we can do is just make sure to save this entire scenario, but it is all set up to essentially work in a production environment where we now have the orders coming through on Google Sheets, going to be sent to Chronhooks as well, which is then going to eventually trigger this webhook, which then sends a call out. If we're going to be calling up our customers, we probably want to know what percentage of individuals are going to be satisfied, which percentage of individuals aren't satisfied and require more support. We want to be tracking these values, and this is exactly how to do that. This last step is going to be another webhook trigger, in which is going to be our agent. Once the call is completed, is going to trigger this automation, and it is going to send the values into Google Sheets or update the row on Google Sheets. And it is simply going to populate a summary from the call. So once again, same as last time, creating this webhook module at the start here with a brand new webhook URL. What we can do is click copy address to clipboard and go back to Retell. Back on Retell, you'll see some settings here which say webhook settings. And within this webhook settings, you'll see agent level webhook URL. Pretty much what happens at the end of every one of these calls is that this box right here will get triggered. This webhook gets triggered with a bunch of values from the call itself. So this can include the person who was called, so the mobile number to associate with the customer, as well as a transcript of everything that was ever said, as well as an AI summary, which tells us overall what happened on the call. So just paste in that make.com webhook. So now all of these calls are going to get sent off to make.com, and we can just hit the publish button, and that is all we need to do. And then very simply, what we can do is jump into Google Sheets and populate a bunch of values to associate the call itself with the row in the sheet to update. But before I do that, we probably want to have a end of call report sent through here as an example for all of the values. So once again, I'm just going to send off a test call directly to myself to trigger this. Just make sure that on this workflow right here, just click run once. So this means that we can actually wait for the actual call to come through. Hey there.
Hi, it's just Brendan. This is a quick courtesy call from Eco Lab. I just wanted to thank you for your recent purchase of the Eco shirt and check in to see how everything is going. Have you received your order and how has your experience been with your new eco-friendly shirt so far?
Yeah, actually not too good. The shirt is like really small. It doesn't really fit me at all. I'm probably gonna have to return it actually.
Thank you for letting me know, Brendan, and I'm really sorry to hear that the shirt I understand how distinct that can be. To support you better, could you let different from what you ordered, or did the fit?
Okay, so I just had that call there. I just told it that I wasn't happy with my order. And you may have seen on the screen right here that we had two different requests actually come through from Retell. One was call started, and now one has just come through with call ended as well. There's also another one which is called call analyzed, which would also come through this as well. And if I just click the run once button again, what you'll see is we've got some data that's still coming through. If I just hit use existing data, you'll see that we have call analyzed, which has just come through. So call started, call ended, and call analyzed. So this webhook, end of call webhook URL doesn't just send through one request. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. It sends through 3 different requests. So all that we need to do is just make sure that we know exactly which request is coming through so that it has all of the values and variables necessary to do what we're looking to do. Hopefully that's not too complicated. Ultimately, we just need to filter out the requests that are coming through. We can just copy this call analyzed text that come through on the last, that just came through on the last request. And then when connecting our Google Sheets module right here, we just click in the middle between this in this sort of the series of dots here. We can set up a condition to only go through and process the information if it is the call analyzed step. So what we can do is click into this condition and we can actually get access to all of the values from this webhook. And obviously we want to access the event. So this is the call analyzed value. We're going to add this into here and we want to make sure that this is equal to call analyzed. So we want to make sure that it's exactly the same. And this should make sure it does that. So that's all set up. And now we should be obviously only running this once per call. And clicking into Google Sheets, we can now update the right row that we are referring to. So just setting up this module right here, make sure to connect the actual sheet. Now, one thing that I did miss is that we can't actually just directly update the row that we're looking to update. The way that this module and this request is set up is that we need a row number, but obviously we don't have a row number as to where this person is stored within our database. So what we do need to do is actually add in a secondary Google Sheets step. So we'll just go to plus button, Google Sheets, and we can click on search rows. What we want to do is just swap these around. So I'll hit unlink here again. I'll just add this step right here and add this one over here. Unfortunately, it makes it so that this condition step is over here now. We're just going to have to delete this and copy this again and just set up that condition once again to be the same as before. And essentially what we need to do is jump into the search rows function, connect our spreadsheet. And then what we can do is filter this by the mobile number. So what we can do is click on the filter here, mobile number, and we can say if it is equal to, we can go down and grab the number in which was associated on the webhook here. I won't leak this because it's got my actual number on it, but this is just associated with the actual phone number that is stored within Google Sheets. So now that has the ability to find the row in which has this number on it. We can hit the save button. And now we can just run this module individually. So we can pull through that value, that row value from Google Sheets, and then we can finally complete the automation. So I just ran that through. Once again, it's got my phone number on it. So I'm not going to showcase the response data, but it has pulled through that row. But you will now see a variable called row number in which we can finally reference in the update a row step. And then we can really do whatever we want to do. Obviously, we now get access to the entire row of the call that just happened. And we have obviously a lot of data now that we can populate into this row. So I can come back to this step right here and I can add in another row right here. And this can be associated with sort of an AI summary. And coming back to this, I can hit refresh and this should pop up with the AI summary column I just created. And you'll see from the webhook from Retell, there is a variable called call analysis, call summary, which is literally just an AI summary of everything that happened on the call. And that will give us insights as to whether the customer was happy or sad or whatever. We can pick that out of the AI summary. Once again, there's really a lot that you can do with this. This is pretty flexible. Obviously, we've got the entire transcript, so we can really pluck out any data we're looking for. We can set up custom AI variables as well. So essentially we can have a specific value in which is customer sentiment, is either happy or not happy. And then we can obviously store that in Google Sheets as an individual column. And we can do other stuff as well. For example, if we wanted to confirm whether the review was made, we can potentially ask them if the review was made on the call, and that could be another column. And we can can just have a bunch of columns to really just map out and get a lot of data out of the system. But otherwise, that is it. These 3 automations are going to enable this system to now work from end to end. We're going to be able to have an order come through, stored on Google Sheets, trigger that call to happen in 7 days. Once that 7 days is up, it's going to trigger to Retell, in which we're going to be able to talk to the customer, relevant and personalized to them. And then finally, that call is going to get sent back to that Google Sheets to store all the information about the results that just happened. Once again, if you are a business owner and you're looking at these systems and you want to get a system built out for your business, whether you have an idea as to what you want to build or you're not quite sure what you want to build, we're definitely happy to help you out with that. So if you do want to work with me, I've got my link down below in the description. Otherwise, if you want to get access to all of the templates that I just showcased in this video alongside the Retell prompt and everything else, I'm going to have everything for a completely free download within my school community linked in the description.